Good evening. This is Spirit Journey, and this this live stream, um, it's October 1st, 2018, and it's about a quarter to 10 p.m. And as I entitled this live stream, that I'm thinking that what happened to Bill Cosby, his sentence that he recently got, it's his whole life, I think, is revealing about our own personal fears. And so with this live stream, I'm going to discuss certain aspects of things I started thinking about. And I came to the conclusion about what his life is, what it means to me about our fears. I was I got to this point. Um, Actually, I was watching a video about past life regression, and some of the people, their experiences while they were under hypnosis, and some of the things that was revealing about them. Um, they mentioned that it's all about these lessons. Some of the people said that we're put in a situation and what we learn out of it. And so, because see, initially, when I learned about Bill Cosby, his arrest, his arrest and conviction, and him being put into prison, I had a lot of stirred emotions, and I did do other live streams regarding Bill Cosby, but like initially it was a lot of anger. I was angry at him. Um, I was angry at him for many different reasons. And then I started watching other videos that people had about him. And the videos that I saw with others was also making me upset. And I was angry at some of the responses. And I know some people who may watch this live stream, they may be upset also with me. But I want to, rather than, so I don't want to just be angry and resentful. I want to make this, learn from this experience, learn about him, Bill Cosby, what he symbolizes. And so I want to first talk about some of like, the different emotions that some of the YouTubers mention when they were talking about Bill Cosby. There seems to be a lot of shame. I would say that's the first thing. There's shame, anger, and embarrassment. And I think with at least the videos that I saw, and in particular if there were black people who did the video, the whether it be a live stream or just a regular upload. Yes, how you doing? Yes, yes, I'm talking about Bill Cosby. And again, a lot of the videos that I saw discuss the the resentment and the anger. And I understand their anger. And I understand the anger in particular of the black men in the U.S. And a lot of them seem to feel, at least my understanding with some of the videos, um, that he was set up. I heard comments like there's a white supremacy with the whole trial. What else? Things like, well, other people got away with it, And what about so and so? You know, they mentioned different people, and these were white people, and that some of the things that they did, and how come they're not in jail. All these things, and a lot of these concerns are valid, very, very valid, but it's the wrong response, in my opinion. It's the wrong. It's that type of response. It's not a healthy one for you emotionally. It'll promote more resentment and misguided. It's directing your energy in a non-constructive way. That's not going to help anyone, regardless. Don't even think about with Bill Cosby about race. Yes, race is an element, but it's a man-made element. It's it's not something on the surface. Yes, people would think that, but if you really want to come out of this situation with Bill Cosby to get ahead in life, I think some of these things that I want to discuss will really um, help you think in a positive way. Again, when I initially heard about his arrest, his conviction of him getting the um, prison term, I did have sadness in my heart. I was angry with him, but I also was sad because it's someone that I knew of for many years. I was never a Bill Cosby fan, but still, I am feeling heavy in my heart about the whole situation. Um, but um, I started thinking in a different way earlier today, based on just what I mentioned earlier about past life regression and the lessons that some of the people who've gone through this, what they learned, and it's helping me think of this whole mess with Bill Cosby in a different way. And I think this new way of thinking is going to really be beneficial. Yes, he did. Yes, I'm just responding to the comment, someone who posted a note. Okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted there. And let me just go on. Okay, so as I mentioned, the initial response in the Black community is one of embarrassment, shame, anger, and saying, well, look at so and so. Look at so and so. They did this, they did that. Oh, white people, this and that, and you know that's just it's see. It was designed. This whole case was designed for you to say just that, and it's not benefit. It's not benefiting you. Okay. So then now I'm thinking. I have my notes down here, so that's why I keep looking away. Um, I think the lessons here. The first thing is, regarding Bill Cosby himself. Okay, now Bill Cosby started out, um, it was about 40, 50, maybe 50 years ago. Yes, about 50 years ago, he was in a television program called I Spy, and he was the first I think, in a role like that on television beside a white another white male. Okay, um, the word that's really coming into my mind is opportunity. Bill Cosby was given opportunity, and this is his test and everybody else's test. Okay, in life we are given opportunities, and then we are observed to find out what we're going to do with those opportunities. All of us, in some point of our lives, are going to be presented something, and we're going to decide what we're going to do with this opportunity. So, what did Bill Cosby do? Okay, well, again, it's not that back then, 50 years ago, it wasn't that many black people on television, especially in a role where you're not cooking or cleaning or doing domestic work. Okay, so he's given opportunity, and he wanted to keep an image. You notice with Bill Cosby, everything was about being educated. That it's almost like a magic formula. If you dress well, talk polite, or even be very funny, this seems to put at ease, especially white people. Everybody likes a good humor and stuff like that, but he was fixated on this particular persona to please the system. You know, again, he didn't use really coarse jokes. Jokes that have the N word and things like that. He didn't like grab his crotch. He really wanted to portray a particular persona that was agreeable to the masses. He also did commercials with young children that made people laugh and made people trust him. But also, in this lesson, if this is all about that our lives are multiple lives, that if you really believe that there's such thing as having, what do you call it, life after death, and reincarnation, that's the one I'm thinking of, reincarnation. Again, I don't know whether reincarnation is true, but I'm thinking that it may be. So what if reincarnation is true, and with each life, and when we're in between lives, we go over certain things that we've done, what lessons that we learn, so that in the next go around, um, so what could happen sometimes that we he did well. He did the show that he did, the I Spy, and then he did the Cosby Show, and then he had another show too in the 1970s. So he what could happen when you're one of the few people in any particular category. It doesn't have to just be race. It could be nationality. It could be religion. Anything. You put in your own variable. But with Cosby, his test was really focused on his race and being acceptable to white society in particular. But also he wanted to present a positive role model for other blacks to follow. And the belief also the belief also was about education, the importance of education. I do believe in education. He seemed very interested in a collegiate education in particular. But I also, okay, that's just a surface thing about him. But again, I write in my notes here, now what would you do if you're put on stage? This, not a literal stage, but you're an individual, and you're given an opportunity to do something big, and do something that, so a lot of people will be seeing and noticing you, And what could happen? It can get to you, it can puff you up. It can make you arrogant. It can make you think you're invincible, right? And I think that's what happened to him. So that's that's what he chose. He liked fame. He liked the illusions. And I wrote down what were some of the illusions. Okay, well, fame. Fame is a very, very big illusion. Okay, money is an illusion. And I also have here um, himself. Himself almost being like a godlike. He's even given the title of the, America's dad. Now, I just recently heard that expression. Like growing up with Bill Cosby, I never heard anyone use that expression with Bill Cosby that he's America's dad. That's almost like a teacher to, when I hear that, a mentor, someone that you look up to. Okay. Now, I have here my notes that these are all illusions. And we watch this. I feel that he believed in those illusions too. And we also, many people who knew of Bill Cosby by his shows or his comedian roles might have felt the same way and got seduced by these illusions. So, what happened with him? Well, he used his popularity and he created a show, The Cosby Show. It came out in 1984. And what, how did he create the show? I mean, what did he create about the show? Well, his show is also reveals the illusion for us to see, so to facilitate Bill Cosby's motive. Okay, now even before the Cosby Show came out in 1984, he had a known past with regard to women. And so again, it seemed like, think of like a snowball is going down the hill, it's getting bigger and bigger. And so Bill Cosby was getting bigger for his own shoes. And so he liked the power of having control over women. And not just him, but a lot of men. Even if you read the Bible, what happens when men get into power? Oftentimes, it includes the conquest of many women. What, Samson and, what's that? Samson and Delilah. He had opportunities to, of choice, but it was his downfall. And it's a lot of men's downfall, not just Cosby. It could be in any community. Any man or even a woman could fall into sexual temptation and conquest. And so you have a show in 1984. Now, he may have an addiction. He may feel like he has a need for women. I've met men in my life that seem to have an obsession with needing to be around women, and maybe some even having sex with women, and they can't seem to stop. So he created a role in the Cosby Show, the 1984 show, and I thought it was really interesting. I started thinking about it. Now, he created a role for himself that he was a OBGYN doctor, a gynecologist. Now, okay, 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 I appreciate your comment. Okay, we just had someone who posted a comment, and um, the individual feels like he was falsely accused. And I respect anyone's belief. And yes, okay, okay, yes. Thank you, Tammy. Yes, um, yes, and I value all your comments. And I have to also realize someone was like I did a live stream before, and I was responding to some of the comments, but some of the viewers felt that my responding to the comments was distracting to it. So, but if I feel that a response needs to be done, I would do that. Yes, and I appreciate that. But yes, yes, one of my viewers was saying that they supported my channel. Um, yes, I don't want anyone to be offended by what I have to say. This video, this live stream is not about slam dunking Bill Cosby. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, she was just saying that she just was dropping in. But yes, I don't want to offend you, Tammy, or anyone else who's viewing this. Again, this video is not about um, shaming anyone. And yes, I think that there's a lesson. Again, my channel name is Spirit Journey, and we're all going through a journey, a spiritual journey. And so I, I think what I want to share is very valuable, and it's helping me in the process as well. So again, as I was saying, if you just kind of all bear with me what I have to say, I know sometimes I can get really long-winded, but if you really hear me out, all of you, if I'm trying to get my thoughts more precise and sequential, okay? So you have a show that came out in 1984. He created a role for himself that would give him access to women. And if your character is an OBGYN, you're going to be able to warrant having people come to you. A lot of women want to um, be a part of the show, and so this is it's like feeding feeding the shark, feeding it, but it's clever. And the wife in the movie, I mean in the television show, played the part of a lawyer. So then I started thinking, isn't that interesting? It's an exchange in role playing. See, a lot of people in our community, in the black community, we like to say the expression the strong black woman, right? The the successful black woman. And so he created a role, and many lawyers tend to be male, right? They tend to be male, but he used a female, so he's getting a brownie point to have a woman in a powerful role playing the part of a black female lawyer. Back then in the 1980s, I didn't know any black women who were lawyers. I live in New York City, and my interesting enough that when I started out as an adult in the 1980s, I worked in the legal department for the city. And this is not an over exaggeration, but all the lawyers in the department were all Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, there were no Hispanics, not even other Europeans. There were no blacks. No Arabs, no Chinese, no Asians, no Pacific Islanders. They were all Jewish, older Jewish men. So you have the Cosby Show, and you have a woman, a black woman playing a part of a lawyer. So this is encouraging appeal to the character, to the story, to the actual show. Reverse roles, have the black woman in a male dominated occupation, and then you have Cosby playing his role being an OB/GYN doctor. So you're so busy looking at the woman in this non-traditional, uh, powerful role as a lawyer, and so you just kind of play along with him, right? So this is where the poison. This is the seduction, the whole seduction with the Bill Cosby show. Okay, so we like hook, line, and sinker. We consumed it. You see, he's great. The other thing I learned about the Cosby Show in analysis was that it was a show that also was teaching about colorism in the black community. It brainwashed. It showed. I mean, just start to notice. And again, this video is not about to slam dunk it, but it's my awareness about what happened for the past 30 some odd years, and coming to understanding to it, and how to get free from this. Okay, so what do you notice about that show? Do you notice that with the who was considered intellectual or um, to be taken seriously, um, they always had lighter skinned people, like the character Denise, and then there was the other girl. These were all very light skinned people, but the ones that would seem to it seemed to me that the ones that were what was that, had a learning disability, the son, he was dark complexion. Then I remember another episode. I think she was was she a runaway or something? I forget who she was. But she was portrayed. I mean, in my opinion, I thought she was very beautiful. She was a very dark-skinned woman, and very full eye, very shapely, very pretty. But they, in my opinion, buffooned her. So I felt that at times the Cosby Show, when it showed a darker complexion black person, they were always uh, kind of look foolish or stupid or streety, unintelligent. But it's always the lighter skinned ones that sent, they're the ones that went to the college, the Ivy League schools, it was puffed up, I thought. And this, having that is it's something that brainwashes, the people who view it, and it makes you start to believe that intelligence is something that is a light factor, and stupidity stuff is something darker. So no wonder why you have during that time that the top show in the country South Africa was the Bill Cosby show. So how could the Bill Cosby show, being considered number one show, be the number one show in South Africa? Well, subconsciously it was again brainwashing you to believe in light is better than dark. So this upheld the apartheid mindset of that day. Okay, so this was just something that I noticed, And again, the show had its purpose. The show had its purpose to continue um, a particular mindset about skin color, and it also gave Bill Cosby access to women. So it was two-folded. Okay, so now you have a show, and you have women that want to get on the show. Some of the alleged victims of Bill Cosby that he had contacted them first. For example, he contacted Beverly Johnson, the famous supermodel, black supermodel from the 1970s. Okay, and she could have even been in the late 1960s, but I'm not sure about that. But at least in the 1970s, early 70s, Beverly Johnson was one of the few black models in business. And so his office contacted Beverly Johnson via her modeling agency. They were the middlemen, the modeling agency, and then they contacted Beverly Johnson. So Beverly Johnson um, had reported that she was drugged, and she started cursing him out, and then he gets in a rage, and then uh, dragged her down the stairs while she's incapacitated and threw her in a taxi. Okay, so I also started thinking about some of the other victims. Okay, now some of the victims, alleged victims, again, there was no DNA proof. It's not like they didn't have physical proof, but by a large majority of the women shared the similar stories. And then his, what do you call it? I think called it deposition, when when they settled out of court. Okay, he had to, he was interviewed by, I guess, the lawyers, and they asked him questions, and he did answer yes to obtaining, um, I think they're called quaaludes slash date rape drugs, excuse me, and use it with the intent. Okay, that's the key word. He used it with the intent to give to young women to have sex with them. That's what really got Bill Cosby thrown in prison. That statement. Okay, so that was his nail in the coffin. So you have a lot of women that's seeing similar accounts. One of them had a picture of him in his nightgown, which proves that she had access to be near him. But it's not proven what happened at the stay. Okay, but that, in my opinion, is what really convicted Bill Cosby. Excuse me. But again, so these women, like, I was surprised. I listened to a lot of, yes, hello, viewers. I listened to a lot of the the women who testified against him, and I was surprised. Excuse me. I was surprised that one of, again, I'm not going to give the name of the person who's saying this, but one of the victims had said that she was raped, by, he gave her, Cosby gave her the drug, and she she couldn't move, and he did what he did to her. But what was what surprised me was that she was a married woman. She told her husband what happened, and she even called him, Cosby, to ask to when is he going to have her on the TV show. So I found that confusing to me, and I'm thinking, you're married. If you're a married man, I mean married woman, you told your husband, and I'm surprised that the husband didn't go and try to kick his behind. But this reminds me of something. See, see all this, how the women responded, how some of the women responded. Excuse me. Um, I thought it was interesting. See, again, I'm on the outside looking in, and it's easy to point and say, I would have done this or that. But when you're in the driver's seat, who knows how you're going to really respond? Okay. But, and again, this is not to trash any of the women who testified against them, but it's just something that I'm analyzing. See, none of us really know how we're going to respond to a stress. And being um, molested or raped, and again, having a drug, it, in short, I think what was revealing about the women was, again, that there were illusions that they were following, these women. The illusion of who he was. Again, he was America's dad. Uh, the illusion of fame. These women wanted fame. They wanted money. And so all these things were pressing on these women because, again, they came back. They, even after being raped, they still called him. They, what else? Some of them even met with him still. And some of them even went on the show after they were raped. And so that aspect, that reality confused me when I heard their testimony. Okay. So what would make a woman or even a man um, do that, to go and contact their the person that's abusing them? So this is, so I think, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my notes here. Okay, I'm sorry. So these women were participants. See, again, in the beginning of this video, I I mentioned about what's called past life regression, and if there's such thing. There was a video that I watched on that subject, and some people do believe in reincarnation. So again, what if even these women were part? Is part of the whole learning cycle, because again, reincarnation, they say, it's all about what you learned. So let's say that anyone involved in Bill Cosby's life, when they get to the other side and they review their life, what do these participants, these women who had to deal with Cosby, what would it reveal? So I thought with this, okay, I'm sorry, I'm losing train of thought. Okay, so you have these women. What would these women say about themselves? And again, I mentioned about the illusions and about who he was, almost like a godlike figure, a father figure, the fame, the money, all that. The whole thing is about fear. Everything. Why didn't the husband confront Bill Cosby? Fear. Fear of being that the wife would never get a job in Hollywood. Bill Cosby had that power. He could make you or break you. So Hollywood, people know that actors and actresses, that they make a lot of money. For whatever reason, that occupation brings in a lot of money. So money again makes us act certain ways. And when you feel you don't have money and you're desperate, let's say you have a family. I know of someone, I used to live out of state, I used to live in the Caribbean, and a woman told me, the woman that I know, she was married, she had two kids. She had a 2-year old and 11 an 11-month old. And there was a party. The company held a party, and I think it was a picnic. Maybe it was a picnic, yeah. And she had her little girl, her 11-month-old there. And someone, a man, had come over. I think he was a little drunk. He's one of the workers there. And he touched the little girl's private parts. This is what she's telling me. And I knew of this individual, a really disgusting, disgusting man. He was a white man, and he's not a manager, but he had like a private. He was hired by the company, but also he did a private contract work with them, and he had a lot of freedom to do whatever he wanted. And but at the party, he allegedly does touch a little girl, 11-month-old's private parts, right in front of the mother. And I think the husband was there also. But the husband, okay, this was a black family from the U.S. mainland, and they just recently came to the Caribbean to live and work there. But the husband doesn't speak out, doesn't try to beat up the guy because of fear. Because if he does anything to this, his fear was, he says or does anything to that white guy, he'll be fired. Okay? So he doesn't do anything, but it causes the husband and wife to separate. That's right. So again, fear. And fear kicked in. The fear of losing your job and money. So these women, they might have always wanted to be actresses, and to feel like, wow, the only way I could become an actress, I have to somehow navigate with this man called Cosby, so I can get my foot in the business. And again, Cosby has it set up that, okay, he's playing the part as a OBGYN doctor, so he's always going to need new people, new women for his show. Okay, but there's a price to pay. And again, the more and more a person gets away with something, the more he wants to challenge himself to see how far he can go, how far he can do things and get away with it. Okay? whether he actually did what he did or did not. The fact of doing something and wanting to do something and to get away with it makes a lot of people want to continue. There was a study done, and the college boys were asked, if you could get away with raping a girl, would you? And most of the boys said yes. It shocked me, but when given opportunity, and when you get away with certain things, get away with something like that, or let's say the class bully, it doesn't matter what the offense is. When people do things and get away with it, it builds up in them to do it more and more and more. And then there's a meltdown eventually. And so, if this is true about Cosby, the meltdown happened. He got out of control, and then you had someone, um, excuse me, who made a joke about him. Remember that black comedian who's just starting out? He started making jokes about Cosby and actually using the term that he was a rapist. He was the first person that I actually heard them use that phrase that he is a rapist. So it wasn't so much a woman that got him in trouble, because again, the women did testify. Some of them did testify. They complained about him. It was settled out of court, and the women were pretty much viewed as just opportunists. They weren't taken seriously, but they took seriously a newcomer, a new comedian on the scene, and a black one at that. And that's what really sealed his grave, you know. But again, the other lesson I was wanting to discuss, again, you have the women. And again, fear. So fear, I think, made these women respond the way they did. And so I started thinking, you've seen this show, the old movie, The Wizard of Oz. What did we learn about The Wizard of Oz? You had a character named Dorothy, and she's told that she needed to do X, Y, and Z so she could get home. But you learn at the end, you had the man that played the wizard, and he presented himself very powerful and scared Dorothy and all the other characters. So you could think of these women that pointed at Cosby as those characters as in the movie The Wizard of Oz. And they did all these things, and they really thought that they needed to do what they did. But in the end of the movie, The Wizard of Oz, what happened? Well, they discovered that they were always able to help themselves. They didn't need the wizard. And in fact, with Cosby, those women really didn't need Cosby. They only felt that they needed Cosby, right? They don't need him. They could have gone somewhere else. And maybe did they really need to, maybe to reevaluate why they want to get into acting or television or movies? And if it's for any one of those illusions that I mentioned, the illusion of his grandeur being America's dad slash teacher, or the money, or the fame, right? These are all illusions that we all fall for. not just these ladies, but many people believe that the rainbow is on the other side for us to, but it has to be with that. It has to be with money, because money's supposed to be the answer to everything. If you only had a lot of money, if you only had fame, that you'll be somebody, that you'll be respected. Just imagine all these women. Did they really need him? Did the lady who actually did eventually become a guest on the Bill Cosby show, as a pregnant lady, was it worth it? Did she become a big movie star? Did she make a lot of money from that? No, I don't think so. So really, I think the story behind Cosby, at least how I want to um, take this lesson, it's really revealing about us. It's revealing about me. And as for the community as a whole, it's not just the black community, because it wasn't just black people that watched Cosby. Most of the people that, at least that they showed on television, the alleged victims, most of them were white. There were a few people of color, but most of the people that you see, most of them were white. So it's not just a black issue. It was everybody. Any woman could have become a victim of his appetites. Anyone. And again, they call him America's dad. So they're making this like a collective. And I think this whole thing also was to pull our spirits down and rob us of our creative energies or abilities, you know. We are, like in the Wizard of Oz, we really don't need the wizard. All the power is really within us, that we could obtain greatness, by our integrity. To be able to say, I don't need your job. I don't need to be on my back in order to get ahead in your business. So that's why I say, that it's really revealing about how we feel about ourselves and what we feel that we need to do to get ahead. And if some of the things, is it worth the amount of value we put into certain things, There are people who do remarkable work. Some people might be work in retail, and they help a customer out, and they feel good at the end. They help a person buy the right outfit, or the right shoes, or the right electronics, and they feel rewarded. So maybe all this is really teaching us what we place value in and how we value ourselves, and about integrity. It's not about saying, oh, well, Bill Cosby got caught and they're just being racist, and look at those other people, they didn't get arrested, and blah blah blah. It's one-sided, and it's, you know that's not the I don't think that's the right response. That's a response that just builds up more resentment and not really learning the lesson. The lesson is about our integrity. Personal integrity is essential. And if um, reincarnation is a true factor, we're going to, when that day comes, we're going to ask ourselves what we did in our lives and what we learned about the things that we've done and what was done to us. So I think for the Black community as a whole to think of it as such. What did you learn about him? If it's true, what did you learn and what do you need to repair? What do you need to repair? Do you need an America's dad? Or do you need individual fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, We need to start having our personal responsibilities for what we do. Because none of us are perfect. And one day, you're going to be tested. How are you going to um, come out of it? So rather than just be, don't walk in shame, don't walk in anger, and don't be embarrassed. Because what Bill Cosby did or didn't do, he did unto himself. He is responsible for his own behavior. I'm not responsible for what he does. No black person, no white, yellow, red person is responsible for Cosby's behavior unless you enable him. You know what I'm saying? Cosby is responsible for his own behavior, and society is trying to make it into a racial thing. Yes, there are racial components, but again, it is a personal responsibility of what we do as individuals. Stop thinking in terms of a racial group or nationality, but think of it as a learning lesson and what not to do. What we need to do is to respect each other, to teach our children, hey, that how you conduct yourself in life is what's important. And don't get too comfortable and think that because you're the prize star that you can get away with things. No, that what happened on people will let you hang yourself. They give you a long enough rope, and eventually you will get hanged. Anybody. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. But eventually things will catch up to you. So please don't be offended or embarrassed or walk around in shame, black people, all white people, yellow, red. Don't feel ashamed. He is to feel ashamed about himself because he's the one that did it. But it's also teaching again how you should conduct yourself and what you should teach your children. That don't get too comfortable in your position when you think you've made it all, that you reached the sky. You never fully reach the sky. There's always someone wanting to destroy you. We see with siblings how you might have people wanting favor over another sibling. Yeah, not everybody acts the same. Not because see, parents also have favorites. And yes, maybe Cosby uh, received favor, but he's no different than what could happen in how people in families act to one another. One sibling could do X, Y, and Z, and then the other sibling tries to do the same thing and get in trouble. So that response isn't, oh, how come so and so can get away? The real essence to this whole live stream I'm doing is to remind you of that you are being tested, and it's a lifetime test. All of us will be tested at one time, at some time. Teach those people that you care about. Don't put your guard down. You will always be watched by someone, regardless of race, creed, or anything. In this case, it was just race that was presented as the variable, but it really isn't. It could have been any number of variables. I don't want Black people to feel that here we go again. It's not about that. That is the illusion of this whole thing. Race is an illusion, just like money, just like fame, all these things. They are things that would test us. And how will you respond to those variables? Will you pass the test? Will I pass the test? So don't get too comfortable when you think you've made it. And remember, what comes up will come down. So while you're moving up in life, always remember that someday you might need that other person's help that is beneath you. Respect one another. That is the real lesson in all this. Respect one another, respect yourself. Okay? So that's my thoughts about with Bill Cosby. Yes, it's sad, the whole drama, but this think of this as a real lesson for every community, regardless of what ethnic or race you belong to, or let's say even gender. Then don't think that it's the women are out to get you. No, this is a test for all of us. We're all being watched. Don't be a woman hater and don't be a man hater. Just learn from what this could teach you and teach others so that we don't make the same, so we all learn and so we don't make this same mistake. And all those other people in Hollywood or in the music industry or modeling industry, people are always watching, and don't think that you're going to get over it, because one day your time will come. So that's all I'm going to say right now. But I appreciate um, your comments, and if you have any other comments, when this video is finished uploading, you could write your comments below. And again, no profanity or anything like that. It's okay to disagree with me. And if you think there were other lessons that should have been learned, you could share it below. So guys and gals, thank you again for watching. And this is a real sobering story. So take care and enjoy the rest of your week in victory, in hope, in love, and with the mindset of being a perfect student of life. Okay? Thank you again. Bye bye. Enjoy.